Now I'll be switching different settings, showing how I do it on the camera, and then we'll put into the video the real video taken by the Action camera. I'll be using the regular 1080 pixel resolution, and I will be going through different stabilization settings. And let's go to the screen width. One thing I wanted to show is that when you choose different width, you may not use some of the stabilization options. When you switch stabilization options, this width will switch automatically because maybe some stabilization options do not support some of those settings here. So let's start with narrow. From my previous experience, I noticed that the narrow setting actually produces some blurry videos, and I didn't like it. On the other hand, we have here standard Dewarp setting, which means that although this camera is taking videos in IFFish format, it then converts the IFFish effect into a regular image. It straightens it with an algorithm. And there is another downside of that, because you may see that some areas of the videos may be blurry as well, because it's not the image that's picked up by the lens itself. It's the image that is processed by an algorithm of the camera, and sometimes the result is not so good. From my experience, in the center of the image everything is good, but on the sides it may be blurry in the Dewarp setting. And when you choose wide angle, you see the IFFish effect. I don't really like much that effect because it actually doesn't give you the real picture. Although it captures a lot of space, sometimes the IFFish effect becomes annoying. Outside it may not be that annoying, but inside, when you can see the walls inside of a house, for example, you can clearly see that the image is distorted. Here I'm recording in standard Dewarp mode to demonstrate how the lines get distorted. Now this is in wide mode. The lines now are curved, and now the lines are even more curved. So I like most of it, the standard Dewarp setting here. But again, as this image is a processed image from the lens image, you still can see some blurry parts in the screen, so this part is a bit disappointing. I was expecting something more from this camera actually, but I was able to get this camera for a very cheap price, so it's okay. But if you pay high price for this camera, this could be really disappointing. So I'm going to narrow now, and I'm going to the stabilization settings. In Rocksteady it is supported, and let me start recording the video. When we move this camera, you can see that the image is moving, but there are some settings that keep this image stable even if you move the camera. Let's stop it. When we move this camera, you can see that the image is moving, but there are some settings that keep this image stable even if you move the camera. Let's go to another setting, and let's change to Rocksteady Plus. If you see that nothing is changing on the screen, probably it is supported. Let's go back and see what we have here. We still have narrow setting, so it is supported. Let's go to another stabilization setting, and now you see something is changing. Sometimes when you switch from Rocksteady to horizontal balancing, you see the image is becoming larger, it kind of zooms in. That would mean that probably the width of the screen is not supported. So let's go back and go back here and see the width, and you can see that it has switched to standard Dewarp setting. It doesn't support narrow setting. That's something to keep in mind. So you may think that you're recording the video in narrow setting when you switch the stabilization settings, but it switches to standard Dewarp. I confirm again the narrow setting. Let's go back and see what we have. Let's go back and see if it switched back. No, it didn't. So there is the confusion. You actually don't know what you're gonna get here. Let's go back in stabilization, and you see again the image kind of zoomed out. And let's see what happened with the setting then. It got back to standard Dewarp again, so it's not supported. So let's do narrow again, and we have now horizon steady. When I move it, you see now this image here is not moving at all. It is actually stabilizing the horizon as well. So there's this mechanism that allows the camera to keep stable even if you move so much the camera. Let's try to record with this option and see if it switches to Dewarp again. Now I'm moving it in the horizon balanced setting, and you see image on the camera, you'll see that it's not moving. Let's check at which setting it was recorded. It says narrow. Now I'm moving it in the horizon balanced setting, and you see image on the camera, you'll see that it's not moving. What if I switch to standard Dewarp? It goes to standard Dewarp, and let's check if there was actually any change. So automatically it switches you to Dewarp, but if you go back and switch to narrow, it looks like it switches back to narrow, but let's really check if it is the case. So we will compare now these two videos and see if there's any difference in the way the picture was captured. So automatically it switches you to Dewarp, but if you go back and switch to narrow, it looks like it switches back to narrow. So to avoid these situations when you think that you're doing a wide fish eye effect video, you should go to stabilization settings, check for example horizon steady, and then go to options, and you won't have this option here. So then you'll have to choose another stabilization setting, horizon balancing for example, and go to screen width, and you don't see it either. So you go to Rock Steady Plus, and you'll see that setting, ultra wide, and then you start recording the video. Now let's move on and go to Dewarp setting, and we're going to change the stabilization settings. You see now the image is changing kinda. Here it's not changing, but when I switch to horizon steady, it becomes bigger. Again, it changes. But one of the reasons we're doing this video is to show the quality of the video. So let's now record in 1080 resolution, Dewarp standard, rock steady. Next we change to rock steady, and it looked like it switched to some other standard again. Now it's switched to narrow. You see, that's something strange actually, and I want it to be in standard, and confirm. Now I'm moving it, and it's kind of rock steady plus, a little bit better stabilization than rock steady. Now I'm moving it, and it's kind of Rocksteady Plus, a little bit better stabilization than Rocksteady. Now we did it in standard Dewarp. Let's go to now horizon balancing. Going back, the image has changed to narrow again. Very strange. And we have to go to standard Dewarp again and make this video. And you see the image is not moving, although I'm moving the camera. So this is 1080 resolution, horizon balancing, standard Dewarp. And you see the image is not moving, although I'm moving the camera. So this is 1080 resolution, horizon balancing, standard Dewarp. Next we're going to horizon balancing, horizon steady. We see the image kind of zoomed in. Let's go to settings, but it's still in standard Dewarp. 1080 standard Dewarp, horizon balancing and stabilization together. .1080 standard Dewarp, horizon balancing and stabilization together. Now let's go to larger format. Now we're going to choose, oh actually you see in the horizon steady setting you actually cannot choose the fisheye effect. It doesn't support it. So let's choose another one. Horizon balancing. And we have only standard Dewarp again. Okay, let's go to Rocksteady. And in Rocksteady we have wide and ultra wide options available. So let's confirm wide Rocksteady Plus. So we have here 1080 Rocksteady Plus wide. So we have here 1080 Rocksteady Plus wide. Now we go to regular steady, Rocksteady. We choose this wide. I haven't actually noticed much difference between Rocksteady and Rocksteady Plus, but I'll move it here. So this is Rocksteady 1080 wide. Difference between Rocksteady and Rocksteady Plus, but I'll move it here. So this is Rocksteady 1080 wide. Now let's go to ultra wide. Now it's 1080 resolution, 30 frames, Rocksteady Plus, very wide fisheye effect. Start recording the video. Now it's 1080 resolution, 30 frames, Rocksteady Plus, very wide fisheye effect. And again we go to another Rocksteady, and we need to make sure we're using the right width we want. Ultra wide, confirm. So Rocksteady 1080 ultra wide screen fisheye effect. So Rocksteady 1080 ultra wide screen Perfect. Also wanted to mention the importance of frames that you choose per second. In the 30 frames per second mode, if you want to record fast moving objects, you don't get smooth video. You need to choose 60 frames per second. So let me show you how it looks like. So now I'm recording at 30 frames per second. We'll move my hand and you'll see that it's kind of jumping from one point to another, but it's not moving smoothly. So now I'm recording at 30 frames per second. We'll move my hand and you'll see that it's kind of jumping from one point to another, but it's not moving smoothly. Now let's switch to 60 frames per second. Now 60 frames per second. See the difference now? So keep that in mind. If you want to record a fast moving object, you should take into consideration the frame rate.